What? Let me start with asking you guys a couple of questions. First question is, how long have you been in sales? The question would be, or the answer to that is all your life. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. And most people, when I talk to them, I'm saying, are you a natural born salesperson? And I've been told that twice in my life, twice right there. And when I looked at the person, I said, are you serious? Like, if you've ever known me, I grew up, I'm an introvert. I went to school to be an engineer. I did not wear a pocket protector, just so everybody knows. But literally, when I started in sales, it became a mission because I met this one guy. And I'm literally out on a sailboat in Lake St. Clair with this gentleman. And he's asking me, hey, what do you want to be in 5 years? Mainly because I was dating his daughter and he wanted to see what I had in store. And, back when you're out of college, you're, fresh into your own job, I'm sitting there going, well, I'm going to impress this guy. I want to be a manager. I want to be just a manager of engineers. I want to work with them. And he said, well, great. And he said, if you're going to do that and you want to be successful with people, you need to know sales. And literally at that moment, out on a sailboat, it was kind of like the old record players going where the person grabs the needle and just kind of drags it across. And I mean, I like literally turned at this guy and I'm going, what? Like, why would I want to know sales? Everything that I've ever known and been taught about salespeople is that they're creepy. They're just trying to take your money. They don't care about you. And then I'm looking at this guy and this big vein is popping out of his head. And I'm forgetting the fact that he owns his own business. He sells outdoor power equipment, has 2 private jets. And he says, listen, not all salespeople are bad. Mind you, he's also a 6'5" Navy SEAL from SEAL Team 6. So me jumping out of the boat and trying to outswim him, probably not happening, right? And he granted me some grace. And he starts talking to me about this. And he's trying to convince me to say, hey, you need to jump into sales. Sales isn't a bad thing. And he says, if you do it right, you can help a lot of people. To which point I said, no. And then about 6 months going through it, we, having a conversation, because again, I'm dating his daughter. I'm seeing him quite often, right? And he says, let me have you go and ride with a couple of my guys. See if you'd see something about sales. And I said, I don't think that this is for me. But I go and ride with these guys and they start talking to me and I'm going, well, what's in it about sales? What do you do that's rocket science? And they said, we just try to help people find a solution, right? And I'm sitting there, kind of toiling around with this. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go and interview and try to take on a sales position. And it was a few months of me going through gate after gate to be, vetted out. And the last part of the gate was literally presenting a product to him and his vice president. And the scenario was 2 brothers trying to sell the product service, which they, sell. So they know every aspect of this stuff, right? And I'm sitting in a boardroom with these 2 guys. One, the vice president being, the happy-go-lucky, conversationalist, asking questions, being engaged. The 6'5" Navy SEAL, who played his role really well, was the prick brother that just stared into your soul. Walking out of there, I thought I totally bombed. But I asked the right kind of questions and they said, you know what? We think you're going to do fine. So I said, okay, well, decided to go work for them. Go off for the first year. I'm out selling. I'm helping all these customers, doing high fives, all this great stuff. We come into the first year for the review. And he literally sitting down with me saying, listen, your territory has never done this since I've had it. And I've had it for about 20 some years at this point. I'm like, well, great. I'm thinking I'm doing pretty good. And we sit down and he literally shows me the chart and it looked like a flat line of someone who just died. I mean, 0. And at that point, it was like the record player again going, because I'm thinking I'm about to get fired. And he said, listen, I'm not going to fire you. I'm going to give you some grace, but we're going to have some hands-on training and I'm going to teach you about business and how sales actually works. And when I asked him about it later on, it was basically he wanted to watch me fail and see where I was at. He took an investment in me. Well, The hands-on training meant I was actually working, doing Saturday deliveries with him, his sailboat that needed to be waxed in the fall, this guy. If you've ever been across or to Fox Hills Golf and Country Club and looked across the street where his house is, there was a nice acre of property that I got to demo all of the equipment on while I cleared off said acre of property in August. And he, like, all this time, it was just ingraining in me all the sales stuff. He put me through Dale Carnegie. He put me through all these sales trainings. And we would sit down and have these long discussions about business. Anytime we flew anywhere for a business meeting, it was all about business and teaching me. And he instilled in me this whole process of the 5 buying decisions. Got to go through these gates. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay. So you guys should have your sheets. The first one is going to look like this. Okay. And we're going to fill it out as we go. It's not rocket science here. And I'm not going to try to sell you guys and stuff. Okay. I'm not here to do that. But here's what I want you guys to do. You have a piece of paper that has a bunch of numbers on it. Okay. We're going to do an activity. And I need to get my phone here and get the timer out. So if you guys will go ahead and get that ready and have it in front of you, we want to fold it in half. So you've got 1/2 sitting right here. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to run through this and we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock. And what we're going to do here is we're going to circle number 1, circle number 2, 3, 4, and see how far we can get. Now, if anybody believes that they're in sales and think about circling the whole thing and you get all the numbers, it's not going to work here. But we want you to go ahead and I want you to go circle number 1, 2, 3, go all the way through this, and we're going to see how far you get. Now, we're going to go back through this activity after this one, and we're going to see how you do after I give you this one clue. Okay. So 60 seconds is on the clock. We're going to go ahead and start it now. And go ahead and start circling, get as fast as you can. And then afterwards, we're going to find out how you guys did. That's right. The pressure's on. I know I don't have any Bon Jovi to play, but I could do like the Jeopardy thing going do, 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 do. But yeah, this is a fun activity that helped me understand why you need this one thing in a few minutes. All right, got about 20 more seconds. All right, time's up. So if you guys can open up the chat, I want to see how you guys did. Did anybody get over 40? Nobody? 30? What's the highest number we got here? 12?
17.
All right, 17. 16. Okay, there we go. Anybody at the legal drinking age? 21? No? All right. So we're going to do this again, but I want to give you guys a little clue. Here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to take the sheet and we're actually going to look at those little hash marks on the side and we're going to make a big plus sign. We're going to connect the dots like Pee Wee Herman used to say. We're going to connect the dots vertically and horizontally. Okay. And we're going to run this activity again. And here's the clue. The number 1 is in the top left. Number 2 is in the top right. Number 3, number 4, number 5. Okay. It's called a process. I know, super sexy language here tonight. We're going to follow a process and see how you guys did. And now to up the ante, whoever gets the highest number on this go around gets a free copy of the book, Sales Process Uncovered. Yeah, that's right. We're going to see how well you guys do by having this extra little advantage, okay? So I'm going to put 60 seconds on the clock one more time, and we're going to run through this. And we're going to start now. Exactly. Prizes. Everybody likes prizes. Free stuff. All right, about halfway through. Five seconds. All right, time's up. So how did you guys do? The numbers go up? All right, let's see what your numbers are in the chat here. Wow, 36. 28, 30, 37, 38. Now we're just adding numbers, right? It's kind of like the Price is Right. We're just going to add one more number. All right. Well, if we can find out who's got the number one, it looks like David. If anybody else got a little higher, send it to Ann, and Ann will get me your information. And I will send this out to you, signed copy. Congratulations, whoever won. It looks like David at this point. But here's the thing. Anybody that's super successful follows the one thing. Navy SEALs, the pro athletes, they find a process and they follow it. Now, I want to tell you right now, there's tons of sales processes. I have a sales process that's 10 steps, but I don't care whose you use. As long as you answer the 5 buying decisions that we're going to talk about tonight, that's what I care about. And if you answer them in the right order, you're going to be rewarded with a sale and higher profits. That's the key here. If you get them out of order, though, now you become a commodity. And the only differentiating factor in a commodity is price. The reason I know this is I actually took some time for about a year and sat in purchasing at a $1 billion organization because I wanted to see how their heads and their minds worked. They are trained to make us into commodities. Well, we need to make sure that we're educating them, and you follow a sales process, just like taking a shower. Become so efficient as you work through these things that you actually do stuff faster. You actually work through the sale faster. You are more efficient. And if you really understand it, you actually spend about 36% of your time actually in front of the customer selling. The rest of the time, you're trying to prepare quotes, you're trying to track people down, you're checking financials and all that other stuff. So if you're going to be only selling for 36% of the time, you need to be efficient. And that's why we install a process. Again, those super sexy words, process, right? Yes. Sarcasm is my love language, by the way. So bear with me during this talk here. But what we want to do is make sure that we're walking through those 5 buying decisions. Okay. So in the chat, I want you to tell me what you believe would be the first buying decision that a customer is going to have with you. Is it the product? Is it the price? Organization? Yeah, a lot of people will say that it's your product. See, here's the deal. For me, if I'm going to buy something, I'm going to buy from somebody that I know, like, and trust. I don't care about the product at this point. Yeah, I want to go buy something that's going to meet my needs and all that stuff, but they want to buy the salesperson. Okay. Every time we're interacting with somebody, they're asking questions. Do I like you? Do I trust you? And how can you help me? In 7 seconds, they actually are filtering through this. And it's been with us since the beginning of time, right? It was when we were going out of the cave to go kill something, bring back our food. We had to make sure that other people were going with us that weren't going to allow us to be eaten or take our food. Well, now in business, we have so much going on. We need to make sure that we like and trust people. And I don't know about you, but anytime I've gone into a car dealership to buy something, if I thought the sales guy was sleazy and didn't care about me, I went down the road to somebody else. And that's what everybody's thinking about me and you. I mean, you guys are asking those questions as soon as we got on. Who is this guy? Do I like him? Do I trust him? Is he going to help me? That's what you guys were actually asking in the back of your minds when we first started this whole journey. And there's a whole thing about how you build likability, and we're going to talk about a few of those things. But I want to pull back the curtain a little bit. There's reasons why I did the game here, and I've given you my backstory, shared about how transparent I failed at everything. The reason I'm wearing a blue shirt. I just give you a little tidbit. Light blues and whites actually build trust psychologically. If you've ever read the book called, yeah, there you go, Ann. If you've ever read the book called Influence by Robert Cialdini, he breaks down all the different colors. And Ann's got it, I bet, too. She's looking for it. Yes, there you go. It breaks down all the colors on how everybody brings in influence. Like, you won't want to go up there and meet with someone with a power tie like the president always wears, because that's like authority, right? But when we're meeting with people, we want them to feel relaxed in the environments we're in. I mean, when I'm meeting with somebody, I'm literally wearing a blue shirt, light colors for my sport coat every time I meet with them. And I'm trying to figure out which scenario, where the area is that we're going to meet too, because I need to understand if it's a loud area. Because if it's a loud area, I need to move us into some place where the customer can be relaxed. Because if they're agitated or something's going on that takes their distraction away, their anxieties go up, well, they're not going to trust me. And that's something that we have to do whenever we're talking to customers. We need to make sure right now when we're on Zoom and stuff, we need to be making sure that we're connecting with our cameras, because people want to be able to trust each other. And if they just see a little dot and it's just a phone call, the chances are they don't connect with you. So we need to make sure that we're trying to build trust and likability as much as we can. So we need to set ourselves up in the right kind of position to be able to do that. So, most salespeople that everybody thinks, they ask 3 questions. Are you breathing? Do you have money? And can I have some? We need to be outward focused on the customer. We need to value the customer. We need to build rapport with the customer, find out about the customer, be intentional. So I always say it's a heart thing. We need to value people and want to help them. So whenever we're out there to be salespeople, I'm transparent. I did a call today that I'm going to walk you through after we do this next activity, but we want to make sure that we're building our customers up. We also, I don't know if you guys have ever gone through this, but LinkedIn, as soon as you accept someone's friend on LinkedIn, they immediately like email you and saying, hey, like, I got this great product for you. I want you to buy it. I don't know. Has anybody gone through that? Raise hands, right? I literally had a discussion with someone trying to sell me stuff. And I'm like, have you read my profile? I don't think you're really going to align with me here. And here's the deal. Our customers are a little different from us as salespeople. We're out there trying to help people and we want to help them. But I tell you, salespeople, just like any of us, when we're engaging people, we're kind of like dogs. So we have a golden retriever. Her name's Grace. And as soon as someone comes to the door, she's wagging her tail. She's moving around. She's happy. She wants someone to pet. She can't literally sit still. She wants to jump on you, lick you. A lot of times she ends up leaving a spot on the floor because she's super excited. And that's what most salespeople are like, right? We're super excited for this sale. It's kind of like Tommy Boy. Well, really, our customers are actually like cats. That's right. Our customers don't. Yeah, there you go, Ann. I told you we'd be showcasing your cat. So anybody who has cats will understand this. But customers are like cats. They take time to warm up to us. They don't immediately jump up to us. We need to cultivate the relationship with them. If we jump in them too fast and we're in their face, they're not going to like us. So think of your customer when you're trying to engage with them like a cat. It's going to take a little bit of time and you're going to have to put a lot of effort. Yeah. And then they're going to decide whether they want you to actually come up and pet them, right? That's how cats really, really function. So kind of keep that little mental picture. And if you don't know, I'm a visual kind of guy. I talk in pictures to help people learn. But I want to take you guys through a quick activity. I'm going to grab a drink of water here. that will help you guys kind of get into the right focus whenever you're meeting with a customer. Okay. Whenever you're talking to them on the phone, whenever you're engaging with them, this activity is something I walk through every time I'm with a customer. And for this activity, I need you guys to trust me a little bit. I need you guys to close your eyes, and I'm going to walk you through this activity. And no, I'm not letting Ann draw mustaches on all you guys while you're here. Yeah, exactly. But I need you guys to close your eyes. So go ahead and close your eyes here. And I want you to visualize. So every time I'm walking up to a customer, I'm thinking about this beautiful brick house that I'm walking up to. Got a huge chimney, white picket fence around the outside. And as you're walking up, you notice a mailbox. And on this mailbox is their name. The single most sweetest sound to anybody is their name. So you want to focus on using that every time you're talking to them. We don't want to use yous and we's. We actually want to use their name whenever we're talking to them. So if I'm talking to Ann, it's Ann, I understand you got this going on. Here's your situation. I would love to help you, Ann. How can I work with you? Let's talk about your situation. Using their name. Okay. So we've got their name down. We're opening the gate and we're walking up to the porch, noticing their beautiful manicured grass. And we get up onto the porch and we notice a chimney and this beautiful, huge chimney on this house, 2-story house. And when you look up at the chimney, you notice that there's an airplane on there. And yes, it's weird. Why is there an airplane on the chimney? Well, that's their hobbies. People are super excited about their hobbies. If you walk into their office, they've got their sports trophies. Ann's got her, yes, she's got her trophies back there. We want to make sure that we're focused in on their hobbies because people, they create a lot of jobs. I mean, look at all these microbreweries that popped up because of guys' passions and women's passions about brewing beer. So when I first started in sales, it was all about rapport. And that's basically what you're doing here is building rapport. But what they used to teach us was look around the room, find something you have in common and talk about it. Rapport is actually valuing people like we talked about. You want to value them. Just learn about them. What's one new thing you can do every time? So learn about their hobbies. What do they like to do? What makes them tick? Okay. So focus in on those hobbies. Now, we're finally actually going to ring the doorbell to have our meeting with the customer. And we're going to notice to the side, we're going to lean in and we're going to notice that there's a glass pane there. And we're going to see kids' toys all over the floor. We're seeing their pets running across the floors as well. And we're going to notice when we ring the doorbell that there's significant others coming to the door, all disheveled because of the chaos of the kids. For those of you that have kids, you'll understand. And we want to value that because that is something people cherish, right? Our families. So we want to make sure that we're recording. How long have they been married? What was their first date? What can we learn? What's their kids' birthdays? What's significant? A lot of people have the pictures of their kids at sporting events. We want to make sure we're recording all this stuff and it puts us in the right frame of mind every time we engage with them if we sit down and do this. Okay. Now, we can open up our eyes here. There's a lot of content there, but basically it's just reframing you. So every time I'm talking to a customer, that mental picture for me is up in my head of the house, going through the name, going through all of these progressions. Okay. And now I actually use what I call a client profile sheet here. Okay. And I'm going to show you guys how you can get this later. I'm going to give it to you guys for free because I think it's very helpful. But today I had a call with somebody that was looking for some leadership training. And it's something that I do. I do sales training and leadership training. And this person reached out to me through my website. And before I called her back, and she is like kind of coordinating all this stuff for leadership. They got 75 employees. They got 10 people on their leadership team. I went through just to go find out who this person was. And I went on to LinkedIn, I went onto their website, and I went on to Facebook. Okay. We have all of these tools out there that if we're meeting with people, we should be using. And I call it social stalking because we want to go through and learn about these people. What can we learn and find something in common with them? Because typically we're not going out and meeting with them in person right now, and we need to be on phone calls or Zoom calls or whatever it is. So what can we do to learn about them? Well, so I go on and I talk to this lady named Jamie, and I find out on Facebook she lives in Grozio, Michigan. Well, I'm a downriver person. I grew up in Southgate. So I know all the areas. I know Grozio really well, spent a lot of time on there, got a lot of friends there. So I started talking to her about Grozio, and I gave her a little history about the Purple Gang down there and a lot of the boathouses there. They used to, move alcohol through there during Prohibition. And I told her some of the houses to go look at. And she's like, holy, this is awesome. So we had about a 10-minute discussion about that, building all this rapport, not to trick her or anything, but it was basically just to, help her any way I could. So we get into this discussion. I start working through this. She's got a husband. She's got a 1-month-old. And I started asking her some questions. So on this sheet, I'm actually going through questions. And my first kind of questions that I always ask is sir kind of questions. What's the situation? What are your issues? And what are your ramifications? And I have this all listed out on this whole sheet. And there's a video that goes along with it. And you guys are going to get this free no matter what happens at the end of the training. If everything goes black, I'm still going to be able to get this to you guys. Okay. But basically, I give everybody a sheet. I use this sheet, and I use it even today. I use it anytime I'm engaging people. I mean, when I wanted to reach out to Ann about helping out the group, because I want to add value to the group. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything here. I just want to help people get better at sales, learn how to use a process, answer these buying decisions. Okay. So I reach out after I looked at Ann Bonnie's website. And I don't know if you've kind of seen her about page, but here's me who's done a sprint triathlon. I do beach body workouts. I'm a pretty fit guy. I hung out with Tony Horton on the DVDs and did my workouts and everything. And then I find out Ann Bonnie, she's done Antarctica for a marathon. She's done 2 Ironmans. I mean, she's like, and then she did one of those fitness things where she's got like an 8-pack, which I aspire to ever have. And so I'm learning about all these things. And I'm just like in awe about Ann. And I've talked to Ann before, and we've discussed different things, but I really didn't understand who she was until I started looking at all this information that's out there for us. And we're having this conversation. She's going to Tampa, and I'm starting to help her out because I used to live there. We're having all these conversations. And that's really what sales is. It's people buying from people, people helping people. Okay. So that is the first buying decision that we have to make through. And there's a lot that goes into it. We have to ask lots and lots of questions. We need to front load the whole beginning of our sales process by asking questions. Okay. So we've got the SIR questions out there, right? Situational, issues, ramifications. Well, there's a little bit more that we need to do. And I'm going to talk to you in step 3 on how to do that. We'll tie it up because it lines up with step 3 on how you present. But we want to get into number 2. So the second buying decision is, what do you guys think? Product, price? What do you guys think? Type it in the chat here. Come on, what do we got here? There's product again. Everybody's going for that. They know they're going to hit that eventually, right? So here's the deal. The second buying decision that people have is the organization. That's right. Our names, if we're solopreneurs, the organization that we have, if we have multiple people working for us, they want to know not just that the salesperson isn't going to leave them high and dry after they sell them something or not help them at all. They also want to know that the organization is going to back up the warranty, that's going to be there if the salesperson gets hit by a bus, whatever it is. They want to know that that organization is going to help them. Okay. So I went to work for a guy that sold outdoor power equipment. And I was down in Florida for about 7 years. And yes, I'm still saying I did move back here. I love the Midwest. There's fire ants, gators. I'm not at the top of the food chain down there. Here, I have a fighting chance. But I moved back here after I've gone through about 7 years of teaching all of my customers down there and helping them. Well, the organization that I worked for, yeah, we sold outdoor power equipment. We were a distributor. We had service and all that other stuff like everybody else. But here's what we were doing that the competition wasn't. Our organization had us going out, meeting with the big landscapers in the area. I studied the landscape. I went and found those guys. I was selling product through the dealers to the landscapers. We also were first ones into the SEO kind of marketing and helping people build their websites. Because I don't know if you've gone to a lawn dealer's website, but most of them are, it was made back in 1980 and hasn't been updated since. We actually went through, helped them with SEO. We coached them. We created the websites. We did videos. I was featured in a few videos that you could probably find on YouTube of me riding lawnmowers on, big pitches with gators at the bottom and stuff to help out our customers. We went above and beyond. Your organization does that as well. See, I've gotten business deals because people knew my dad. My dad had such a great reach that I had no idea about, but because of my family ties, because I'm a solopreneur right now, they actually invited me in to have a discussion because of my family. So your family has worth and we have worth. We do things to help other people. And as we scale, we need to make sure that our organization structure is there to help our customers. Okay. So focus in on that. And as you notice, the second buying decision is a little quicker than the first. The first buying decision is where you're setting your foundation. It's kind of like making a house. We need to take a lot of time, ask lots of questions, build that rapport and trust with the customer before we're going to be able to walk with them through. Okay. So you guys still with me here? All right. We're going to get into the third buying decision here. Can you guess what it is? Product. Yes. Yes. Anne's got it. Like raising her hands. She's fist bumping. Finally, we actually make it to the product. See, most salespeople, they get your name, they find out what you're looking for and launch into selling you something, right? You ever gone to buy like a washer and dryer at ABC Warehouse? Yeah, the guys are jumping right in to try to sell you something. People don't like that. I don't like that. I'm not buying from somebody I don't know, like, and trust. So we need to make sure that we're walking through this with the people. The best person I've ever been sold over at a store, appliance store, is a guy named Mike Kelly. And he knew my dad. I started talking to him and he walked me through and says, well, what do you really need? I said, well, I want this and want this. He goes, yeah, but what do you need? And he sat me down and actually coached me through it. And I ended up buying less from him. But you know what? When I go back there, I buy from him and him alone. I don't buy from his friends. I don't, even though they could probably give me the same deal, I will not go to anybody else because he helped me walk through it. So we're getting in to step 3. I'm going to take a quick drink of water here. Most people will jump in and start selling their features and benefits of what they have to offer in the third buying decision. Okay. And that could be anything like a car. It could be that it's blue, it's got door handles, it's got power windows, heat, air conditioner. That's not what people buy. Okay. I learned this my first week on the job in sales when I went to Chicago. I was listening to all the sales guys spout off all of these details about these lawnmowers and all these snow plows and all this stuff that I had no idea how to run. Like the first time I hopped on one of those lawnmowers with the joysticks, you take the steering wheel away from me, watch out. I mean, I was hitting everything, bucket loaders, little I-beams and stuff that were laying around. And I was sitting there touching everything up with paint. But when I'm sitting down with this one guy, he comes in and he starts talking to me. I'm learning about him. And he says, well, tell me about these spindles. And I start talking to him about the deck spindles, how they've got this long life and all this other stuff. And they're great. Going to do 19,000 revolutions per minute. And this mower's got suspension and it moves 12 miles an hour. And the guy goes, well, all those are great, but how does it help me? And it really stuck with me. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go take you to one of the other sales guys and I'm going to listen because I'm new. This is like my second day basically on the job. And the guy was nice. I mean, he didn't just walk out of the booth. He actually stayed and I got to listen. But every time the salesperson would spout off something, he'd say, well, great. How does that help me? And it kept sticking with me. And I've used that all throughout my sales career. The reason why we start with the situation, the issues, and the ramifications is we need to start understanding their needs. Okay. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Simon Sinek's The Golden Circle talk, which was like kind of what made him like the guy about leadership and all that stuff. He says, the big corporations that are very successful start with why. Well, I've kind of stolen that little diagram. It's in the book and everything, but basically I do the same 3 circles and it layers out, his is like what is it? The what, the how, and the why, right? The why is in the dead center of the bullseye. Well, features are on the outside, your benefits are getting closer, but the need for the customer, that's your bullseye. So we need to make sure that we're citing this in and making sure that we're, finding out what all their needs is. So that's why we're asking all these questions at the very beginning. I want to understand their situation. What does a win look like? What are the ramifications? Are they going to lose a whole bunch of business if they don't make this deal right? We need to understand exactly what all their needs are. Okay. And I equate this to most salespeople like cock a shotgun. I don't know if you guys have gone out and shot guns before, but if you cock a shotgun and you shoot it at the wall, it makes this big circular pattern with all these little dots all over it. Okay. And that's basically where people are just shooting off features and benefits and hoping something sticks for the customer. And meanwhile, the customer's got his eyes glazed over, waiting, looking at his clock, hoping the time goes faster so that they can get out of that store. Well, what we need to do is actually cite it in. So I don't know if you guys have ever watched those documentaries, but those guys that are shooting like a mile-long shot, those sniper guys, they're actually doing a lot of calculations before they even sit down to shoot the gun. They're finding windature, gravitational pull. They're doing calculations on the velocity of the bullet. They're doing all of this work before they even fire one shot. And that's what salespeople really need to be doing. We need to make sure that we're uncovering all of those needs that the customer has. And then we go back and we verify those needs that they have. What are they? What are the most important ones? Because the customer is going to have tons of needs. But what are the ones that really hit the mark? What hits them in the heart and says, God, if I could answer that one thing, I got all my questions answered. All my needs are there. What are the top 3 things? And I use it as the rule of 3 because we typically remember 3 big things. So when we're asking questions at the very beginning, we want to structure our questions. And how do we really do that? Well, we figure out by using our features and benefits. So for us keynoters and trainers, what is it that we do? So maybe we're doing leadership talks or we're doing trainings on how to get engagement with people. What does that do for the customer? We start with those and we do a roadmap and actually figure out how to ask the right questions that will uncover those needs. We need to make sure that we're following up and doing that. Because if we ask all the right questions at the beginning, this whole sales process starts going through really fast and you start making those sales. Because remember, you only have about 36% of your time actually selling to the customer. So ask the right kind of questions, make sure you're lining your questions up with your solutions. Okay. And now here's a little disclaimer. If the solutions that you offer are not something that somebody needs, find them the person that will help them. Okay. I am not enthusiastic. I don't jump around the stage like Ann will do or like Josh Schneider will do. That's not me. I am a point blank, just vanilla kind of guy that will help you structure your sales process correctly and help you guys achieve more sales with more profit, not become a commodity. That's just me, right? I know my lane. So when I'm talking with customers, I'm structuring what is it that you need. So when I was talking to this person that wants a leadership training, well, what does a win look like? Well, she couldn't answer it. So I said, well, great. Here's what we need to do. We need to get some of the people that are going to write the check on the call and we're going to figure out what a win looks like for you guys. And then we'll work through it. And if I can't answer that, I'm going to get you to the person that can. Now, I've gone through John Maxwell certifications. I've been through Dale Carnegie trainings. I've got a lot of repertoire and trainings, but if it's about engagement because their people aren't engaged, guess who I'm not going to be selling to? Them. But I'm going to point them to like an Ann Bonny and people that are going to help them with that. That's what we need to be doing as salespeople. This is why salespeople get a bad rap, because they constantly just try to ramrod whatever they're selling down the customer's throat to hopefully make a sale. And they keep pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, and then they don't get calls back. Well, if you actually help people and you didn't make that sale before, guess what happens? They will actually tell people, you know what, this guy actually helped me when somebody else needs something that aligns up. When you overserve somebody, they will actually sell for you. They will tell their friends and family. And the best kind of marketing still to date, you can do all this Facebook and all this other stuff, is word of mouth marketing. If somebody recommends you, they're going to get more traction and you're going to make more sales. You'll have it. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're uncovering needs. We're making sure that we're helping the customer and we're walking through that process with them. Okay. So now we're going to get into the fourth buying decision. And before we get into that, just want to ask anybody any kind of questions you might have about that whole process of uncovering the needs and verifying those. Any quick questions you guys might have? No? Okay. Let's roll in then. So the fourth buying decision, can you guess what it is? It's price. That's right. This is what I equate, and in my talks and all that stuff that I do, I equate it to being in high school and asking the girl that I really wanted to date out on a date. This is where like salespeople always get nervous, right? You're sliding over that price and you're like just sweating, waiting to hear from the customer. You're worried that they're going to say no. Well, most of the time when salespeople actually send over that price, they immediately launch into validating why that price is there. You know, here's your price of X, Y, and Z, and here's what we're doing to help you. This is why it's going to work for you, blah, 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 blah. And to keep going down this train. What that's doing with the customer is actually devaluating your proposition. It's devaluing it. It's eroding your profits right then. So like any big negotiator, and I've gone through and trained with a guy who did negotiations for the United States and everything. In any negotiation, anytime you send over a price, you slide it over and you shut up. And what they'll tell you in negotiations, the next person that talks loses. And it gets uncomfortable. I've literally sat there for about 5 minutes, total silence. And you know, as salespeople, we want to start talking. We don't like silence. But here's the deal. You slide it over and let them make the next decision, because they're going to tell you whether you've done the right process, you've hit all the things on the mark or not. And it's okay to get a no. Okay. I'm going to tell you how to get back to it, but don't devalue your proposition. Let them tell you, because they might just say, you know what? Okay, let's do that. Or if they have any kind of issues, they're going to let you know. And all you're going to do is step back into making sure you uncover their needs and you're verifying the needs and making sure that they are, you know, what are the top ones? Okay. I want to give you a little secret here. Big purchasing organizations. So if you're going to be working with multi-million dollar, multi-billion dollar industries, and you're going to try to help them with a consulting or a training or some kind of deal, they literally have it baked into their process of getting your price. They go to their board, they go get their approval. Sometimes it's like once a month. And in that process, then they have a target of how low they can get you. That's what they do. They do it in automotive. They do it in everything. And I've sat and I've sold, I've managed $1 billion of business for an organization. I can't tell you their name, but their initials are FCA. I've done a lot of business with them. And every time I slid over the price, I knew that they were going to have a specific amount of time that they were going to go and make me wait. Because what they want you to do is come back in and say, hey, I'm running a sale, because you're worried that they don't like your proposition. They're trying to give you the silent treatment for a reason, because they know that 9 times out of 10, a salesperson will literally lower the price. I mean, they have a training on it. I sat through this training and I went, are you kidding me? You literally have this baked in. And I said, yeah. So be cognizant of it. Slide over the price and wait for them to talk. Now, if they tell you that they don't agree with the price or they have some kind of issue, it's not the end of the world. We jump back into uncovering the needs and verifying the needs, saying, hey, when we talked, here we had this one, and this one. Is there anything else that really popped up? And I can tell you, in my biggest deals, I've done $20 million deal with 5-year contracts. It took 6 months to work through that deal. But they put in new sales or new purchasing people, they switched people, and the needs changed. So we need to constantly be asking throughout the sales process if these are still your top needs. And they'll tell you, well, you know what? This actually changed. This one actually is highlighted because my new boss or whatever it is, we think this is actually a higher need. So ask those questions, just double back into it. And then my sales process, when I'm walking through it, I literally tell you, just double back into uncovering the needs, validating the needs, making sure you have everything met. And I typically, whenever I produce a quote to anybody, I use the rule of 3 because we can only remember 3 things, but I'll know about 5 things. So I'll have them in my back pocket. So if someone comes up and I say, well, which one is it? 9 times out of 10, it's been, well, we actually need this. Oh, well, we didn't talk about that because you didn't say so, but here's what I do. And it quickens the cycle. It actually makes it a little faster for you. And the people go, you know what? Cool. That works for me. Let's sign up and let's get that LOI and let's move into the 5th buying decision, which is for them to buy. Okay. A lot of stuff here. I'm sorry if it's kind of like a fire hose, but I get really passionate about it. So I start talking fast. My voice goes up an octave, like I'm going through puberty and stuff. But yeah, let's see. David says, what about asking for the sale after you give the price? Not sure I understand that one. Can you clarify that? What about asking for the sale after you give the price? Yeah, okay. So I'm guessing you're saying, what about asking for the commitment? When you send over the price, that's what you're basically doing. Is here's the price. Let's sign on the dotted line or give me, the deposit check, whatever it is. You're asking for that commitment. That's what you're doing. It's kind of like I said, back in high school, I was asking the girl out that I was all nervous and sweaty. Just to give you guys a little insight. When I graduated high school, I was about $122. Okay. No girl wanted to date the skin and bones kind of guy. I mean, my wrist now is probably about the size of my biceps back then. But I was nervous and I was asking for that commitment. And that's typically what salespeople get. Anybody been nervous when they've sent over the price that maybe too high, you're not going to get the gig, right? That happens and it's okay. I mean, that means you have a soul and you want to make sure that you're doing things right. So we get into the 5th buying decision, which is them to buy. They're going to give you the LOI or the check or a purchase order, whatever it looks like to you. And most salespeople, about 99% of them, take that check, that LOI, and they ride off into the sunset, never to be heard from again. We've done our keynotes, we've rocked it out on stage, and that's it. Well, the problem is you just left the customer hanging, right? Anytime we've ever gone to a restaurant and we've been overserved, what do? We can't help but tell everybody about the service and especially the desserts. When you have a phenomenal dessert, I am going to tell everybody about the dessert, right? We need to make sure that we're over serving the customers. So to give you a little story, back when I was down in Florida again, because I like it, it kind of simple and stuff. I sold the first truckload deal in the whole territory of Florida for this new product line. Nobody had ever done it before. My territory was outflanked by the guy on the side of the East Coast by about 3 times. And I had done the first truckload deal to one of my customers. Well, we signed the deal. There's a lot of benefit for them to do it. And as soon as that truckload showed up, you know what I was there doing? I was unboxing some of the stuff. I was training the salespeople. I was positioning everything on the floor for them. And then I took some of their customers out and I trained all their customers on the product. And then I actually sold some of the stuff that I didn't compete against for that customer. I went out one day to go sell a lawnmower, which was about $10,000. And I came back with an order for $22,000 for my customer. And he's looked at me and says, "What the heck did you do?" I said, "Well, he needed chainsaws, he needed weed eaters, he needed a parking lot blower, he needed a lawnmower that I was out there selling." I said, "I'm here to sell for you." So he ordered another truckload. So I was selling truckloads while the guy in the East Coast was doing like 4 and 5 at a time, thinking he was rocking it out. And then the owner of the company informed him of how I was just eating his lunch. But it was all about servicing them after the sale. So we got about 90 days to actually make the customer super successful. Otherwise, they're just going to have another product and service and they're going to put it on the shelf. Didn't really help them. So what is it that we can do after a training or a keynote or whatever it is to help them be more successful? Because here's what happens. If you make them super successful, they're going to brag about how well you serve them to everybody. How many people have done a keynote and the person that hired them told somebody else and you got a phone call from somebody else because you made their lives great and you made them look like rock stars? That's what we need to be doing in sales. A lot of people will stumble into a sale every once in a while and make a sale and not really understand how it happened. Yes, referral business is golden. That is the best kind of marketing you can have. So we need to overserve the customer. What do you offer that is going to help them? Do you do weekly blogs? Do you do videos? To give you guys a little insight of what I do, so during COVID, I literally went and said, well, business basically dried up for most of keynoting. I'm pretty sure you guys all had the same thing. We've done this virtual thing and made some sales, but it was lower margin stuff. I took my time and sat down and said, well, what could I do? What could I map out? So I did some online trainings I created that are out there on the web. And I started doing, I think it was either November or December, we had the gentleman come in and talk to us about YouTube videos. And he trained us about it and said, listen, here's the basic principle: 5 videos a week, Monday through Friday, and you create them and you start sending them out there. And after about 4 months of doing that, you'll end up, start shooting up into the charts as far as YouTube and Google in the search engines, right? I sat down, created those trainings, and then I did 260 videos in 3 weeks. And I broke it out every day, 4 hours a day, recording all these videos, raw footage, and I'm editing them and putting them up. And I started it January 18th, and I've been doing it every day since. So now when I actually talk to a customer, well, what can you do to help me? Well, I've got my trainings. I've got online training to help you guys out. I'll do a package. I have weekly blogs to help you. And I'm doing these videos every day, Monday through Friday. And I'm serving them. And then when the customer asks me, what else could I do? Well, we talk about that. If they need consulting or whatever it is, what can you do to make them super successful? Because I guarantee you do that and you're going to make more business. Now, I've had awards for the top business or top salesman in the United States for stuff. And I've sold to, FCA, and I did $20 million 5-year contracts. I've done all these kind of sales, different markets. And I can tell you that following these 5 buying decisions is the key to doing that. I don't care what kind of program you use, whatever it is, make sure you're answering those 5 buying decisions. And every kind of training I've gone through and sat with NSA, I literally filter everything that they teach us on how I can walk into the customer with this training and what one takeaway I can take. Okay. So when we're out there hunting and doing all this stuff for sales, we need to make sure that we're focused on the customer. We want to make sure that we're helping them. We're genuinely interested in them and finding how we can help them or point them in the right direction. The whole thing is, a lot of people will say sales is out like hunting. We're going out to hunt and kill a sale. And it's true. Like if you ever gone hunting in Kroger, you can hunt and get a meal pretty quick, and you can have a meal for a couple days. But sales truly is like farming. You go and cultivate the ground, you plant the seeds, you water, you nurture, and then you have this amazing harvest that you can eat off for an entire year. So we need to make sure that we're thinking of sales as being more like farming, and we will be super successful helping our customers succeed. Okay. That's basically all I have to help you guys today with this training. What I do say is if you need, sales as service, you're serving the customer. Here's what I want to help you guys with. If you guys want this sheet that I use, and I've used it for about a decade, all you need to do is email me. And no, I'm not using your email to give you spam emails. This is a one and done deal. If you send me an email at kevin@kevinsidebottom.com, very difficult. If you send me an email saying the one takeaway you have from this training, I will send you this file free and clear. You're not getting added to any kind of spam, okay? I'm not going to email you guys. If you have questions, I will gladly answer those questions as well, have a phone conversation, and help you guys, okay? That is my gift to you guys. I am so glad that I have an opportunity to do this. The other thing that I have for you guys, and I told Ann, I'm not trying to sell anybody. This is just an added benefit to help people. I created the Sales Process Uncovered training, okay? I went and did this. It's got hours of training. It has the sheets in there. It helps you walk through everything. It's got videos, a little slide deck that you can take with you. It's a lifetime membership. I charge $147 for this training. For NSA, for you guys, because you're my people, and I can't wait till we can finally come back and see each other. I'm giving you guys $100 off, and I'm giving you the coupon code. It ends at the end of the month because I'm going to close down the training. I'm going to relaunch in May for a couple other trainings that I'm doing, but it's NSA, all in caps, MI rocks. I think, Ann, you have the coupon code. I think I sent it to you. You can put it in the chat. Basically, it's taking $100 off. You guys get it for $47 if you want it. Don't have to do it. I'm not trying to sell you on anything, but if you want more of the information like that's in this book, it's going to help you. And it's got me on video, and it will help you guys greatly. I am not making any money. Literally hardly any money on this deal. I don't care to make any money. I don't care if anybody uses it, but it's here to help you guys. I want to see you guys succeed. And when we're sitting down at the next in-person meeting, I want to hear how it's helped you. That's what makes me get up and go after it every day, that I've helped somebody. Okay. That's just what I'm here to do, help you guys. That's why I spent this time tonight. Don't care if you guys buy anything from me, but I want to give you all the tools that will help you. Okay. That's it. Anybody got any questions? Fire away.
Just real quick, and thank you so much, Kevin, for your time. But like just that last step, buy, like what's the takeaway for the buy step?
The takeaway for the buy step is for you to go in there and think of how you can make them successful within the next 90 days. Okay. You've done a keynote or you've done a training. What other things can you do to keep them on track? Maybe it's, hey, I'm going to do a weekly touch point with your sales team or your leadership team. What is it that you can do? And it can be on a Zoom call, right? And while you're sitting in an airport, just to answer questions, because we want to make sure that we're helping them take this training and apply it, because most people do all these trainings and they never apply anything. What can we do to make sure that it's helped them, hits their bottom line? That's the big takeaway from that one.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see. Oh, that's a chat there. Anybody else have any questions?
I did have one, and that was the one I just put in the chat, is I have a problem with like following up. If I send somebody a proposal, we've talked, I feel like I've had a relationship with them, and then they ghost me and it's been 2 weeks or a month or longer. I'm really uncomfortable like getting back in touch. What do you recommend as far as messaging for that?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys have listened to the Speaker Lab podcast. Grant Baldwin does a fantastic job. I took his training just to see what he does, right? And he does that simple email, right? I started off all of my emails with, hey, quick question. And then he sits there and says, well, when someone's ghosting me or they don't respond after a few times, I do the leave the ball in your court deal. And that's all you got to do is say, hey, I sent this to you. I kind of penciled it in, just checking on. If it's not a good fit, no worries. If I don't hear back from you, cool. A lot of times people are so busy that they forget. I mean, I'm more busy now than I ever was in, a day job of working in a cubicle. It is what it is. I mean, everybody's so connected and they got so many things firing at them. So yeah, it's just basically just leave the ball in your court kind of deal. And Matthew McConaughey just wrote that book. I don't know if you guys have seen it, right? Yeah. So I'm reading the book right now. Oh, here's a little takeaway for you guys. So I read 12 books a year. Okay. And what I do is every day I get up and I read 10 pages. That's it. And I can read a 300-page book in a month. And most sales books, including mine, are less than 300 pages. So you can get through 12 books a year. I'm reading his right now. And so when he first got into being an actor, he's like, I got to go get an agent. And the guy that cast him for the movie said, no, you're too needy. Go do something. Go to Europe and ride motorcycles. So he goes and rides them. When he comes back, he's like, yeah, whatever. I guess I could do that. And he goes, now you're ready. That's how we have to really feel. Like, hey, you know what? It's like Tommy Boy. If I didn't get the wings, I got a meat lover's pizza in the trunk. Have the confidence. Don't really worry about it. Move on to the next one. Don't get worried about it. I mean, like in high school, I got turned down more times than not. And now I'm used to getting turned down, right? But yeah, don't be worried about that. Just leave the ball in their court. Yeah, green lights. There you go. Anybody else?
All right, I have another one.
Okay. No problem.
So I have a problem with prospecting, like the first reach out. Like, how do I reach out to somebody that I don't know and be like, hey, Lisa, I see that you like Tony Robbins too. I like Tony Robbins. Let's talk. Pow, 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 pow. How do I make it sound like I'm not trying to sell her something?
So that's where we do social stalking. So my CRM is still an Excel spreadsheet and I have notes on the people. And when I'm going out to the different associations, so I basically talk to financial planners and realtors. And when I reach out to them, I go find, I don't know if you've ever done this, but realtors, when you try to find their phone number now on websites, it takes you to an email thing to populate. So they'll call you. And I'll go and search for it. And that's what Grant really says is you go out there and search. Well, as soon as I find their names and I can find a picture for them, especially realtors, because they love having their picture on websites, go search Facebook, go search LinkedIn, find out about them. I populated this sheet today with Jamie's information and went on Facebook, saw she was living in Groseal. Well, guess what? Now we have something in common. And I was able to educate her for about 5-10 minutes. Christine Spray, I don't know if you guys know who she is. She's a big keynote speaker, has a big association for business development. I'm actually going to be talking for them in May. And we're sitting there talking when I first reached out to her and we're having this conversation. And she literally said, I can't believe I'm telling you all this stuff, even personal stuff about her medical history and stuff. She's like,
Oh, wow.
What are you doing? I'm like, I'm just curious. I'm just asking. I'm always curious to learn about people. And it's just building that rapport. But I went and searched some stuff about her to understand who she was before I engaged her. And that's what we need to do. When we're prospecting, go find out who it is. And yes, it sucks. You have to do a lot of work to do that, but you got to go and do the work if you want to be successful. Those guys that have the 8-packs, and you have to eat right. You have to work out right. You have to follow that regimen. it takes discipline, and that's just basically what it is.
But how do you start that conversation? So you find this information. Lisa and I went to the same college. Like, how do I make it not sound like, pow, like,
Yeah, not too salesy, right?
yeah.
Well, so Grant has that in his first email. It's just quick question. Hey, I see you guys have this sales training. Kind of curious what you're looking for. Could you hit me back? And the person will probably not respond back to you right away. I've had people do it. It's probably, so insurance salespeople do this little, they say you got to do all these calls, but they've studied how many calls it takes. In 10 calls, you usually get 3 fact finders and 1 opportunity to quote. So basically, you're at a 30% rate to get to that next gate to do a quote. And to be able to quote somebody, it's about a 10%. And they've really studied sales, right? So what I look at is like, listen, a lot of people aren't going to send one back. But if you send them, and what Grant will tell you is you forward the previous email to them, just say, hey, just following up. And, there's the 3 gate that he uses on the emails, right? So just following up, haven't heard back from you after about 2 weeks. And I literally have a little calendar thing to follow up, because I do my emails and I make them all personal. And I just follow up that way. And you want to get them on the phone as fast as possible, because email is so, it's so dead. It's so archaic, basically. It's kind of like writing in a tablet of, hammering it with the chisel. People want to have a conversation. They want to feel a connection, right? They want to feel valued. So, you just go in there with an open mind and just, email them a couple times, a follow up, and then it's the leave the ball in their court kind of deal if they're not responding, and you move on. And I've seen it. I've gotten to probably, I want to say I'm between, last time I checked, I was at 22 to 27% response rates in quotes. So it works. It's just following a process. That's all sales really is just being disciplined to follow a process. Think about it. When you jumped into the shower and you're washing your hair, you're like, this is a great idea. I got to go tell my significant other about this great idea. It's because you have a process that you're following that you don't even have to think about. So your brain's free to start thinking about that. Just like in sales or anything else. Once you get in there and it's muscle memory, Navy SEALs, they go and practice before they go on a mission 30, 40, 50 times, even practicing how to move their gun up and down out of their holster. So it's muscle memory so they can shoot down range. Just so it's second nature. So when they go out in the heat of battle, that's why they're super successful. 6'5" ex-Navy SEAL guy's telling me this. He goes, I'm not a rocket science. I didn't go to Harvard, but I'm a multi-millionaire, got 2 private jets, Z06 Corvette, all paid for in cash, sailboats, all this. Like, he's like, I just follow a process. And that's like, I've been tempted to go do this, the Navy SEALs training, the Kuroko training that they have. One of the guys, Mark Devine, has, where it's 3 days, just to see if I'm mentally tough enough yet, just to see. I got to keep up with those people who've done 2 Ironmans and stuff. But, that's all it is. Simple. Follow a process. Don't be worried or discouraged about a no. It's okay. There is nobody who has ever sold anything to anybody. Anybody who tells you that is lying. Okay?
Kevin, I have a question.
Sure.
Do you find that people prefer to talk on the phone, a physical phone call versus a Zoom, like coffee date? What are you finding?
So most people on the initial calls will want to just talk on the phone. But if you can get them on a Zoom, you're going to have an even closer, a better closing rate to get them to a discussion. Because when you can see people and you can interact and they can see you're smiling. Again, my love language is sarcasm. So when I'm talking to people, I have to make sure, like when I'm texting people, I have to put all those smiley emojis and stuff like that. Because my wife gets pissed at me when I don't. Because I'm like, I was just being sarcastic, just trying to be funny. So if you can get them on a Zoom coffee chat, man, that is awesome. That's perfect. But at a minimum, as soon as they respond to you, get them on the phone. When can we have a phone call? And get them talking to you. That's what they're really looking for. And most salespeople, I'll just send an email. I'll just move it through. And that's not going to move the needle.
Thanks. I have another question. How do you feel about the 3-tier pricing? Do you do that? Offer the
So I
silver,
have this.
gold, and platinum pricing?
Yeah. And so it's a tactic that people use. I pretty much staged it and I sit there and go, well, listen, if you want, the gold platinum, it's because I'm giving you more, right? I'm going to come in, like for me to do the online sales training here, it's a low entry cost. We can do that all day long. It's easy for you to get in there, lifetime membership. But if I'm physically going to come and speak with you, or if I'm going to consult with you on a thing, we're going to have a good contract. And it's good to have that because they're going to ask, excuse me, they're going to say, well, you know what, that's great. And this guy's doing the same thing, but what else can you offer? Well, hey, I have this thing that has been proven to help you get more engagement, more traction. So yeah, you can have those things, but it's all about your time, right? Yeah. So by no means, I mean, I don't like sitting there going, Super Tuesday, we're giving you a coupon. But if you have something that's going to be, there's more value there. Yeah. Have those things lined up. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, I'm here for you guys. Anything I can do to help you guys. I'm looking forward to it, especially when we can get back in person just to see you guys and hear stories. This has been something that's been stirring in me for about a year. And when I reached out to Ann, I'm like, I really want to help you guys.
Yeah. And right now it's so important to get selling and to be able to build those relationships so that,
Yep.
Even when people jump back into action, I just had another keynote cancel that was supposed to be live and they're like, I'm sorry, we don't know what we're doing. And I'm like, it's no big deal. Just let me know when you're ready. I'm here, and yeah, it's a tough time, but it's good to be able to jump back into action.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to be selling. You always got to be selling, right? Always be selling is the motto. Always be marketing.
Yeah.
But it's mainly, especially now for keynotes and whatever, it's how can you add value? What value can you give to people? And, like I said, these videos, yeah, it took some time, took me about 3 weeks. I can give it away. Well, that's what brought this lady in today. She said, hey, I saw this video on leadership. Great. We'd love to have you in. Okay, cool. What does that look like for you guys? What does a win look like for you guys? What's your situation? And it was like, no one's asked me that before. I'm like, well, let's have that conversation, right? I'm not going to just sell you something. I want to help you guys. So
I have a question. How are you using like web traffic, and now you have your YouTube channel and maybe have some people who are really consuming a lot of that? How are you using that and translating that to like leads for products?
So I haven't really gone in there to look at who's watched my stuff. Basically, that's outbound marketing, and you wait for them to kind of come to you.
Okay.
Me reaching out to people is going after all the associations that I've researched and sat down while my wife's watching something on Hulu and I'm typing in all the information about them. That's us selling. That's us going out there and trying to move the needle. But I don't really check that. That's basically me saying, hey, here's some free content. If it gives you one tidbit that helps you move the needle, great. But people that sit there and say, here's my video, now subscribe, and I'm going to give you $1 million, right? They're just trying to boost yourself. There's people out there that will literally spend money to buy, people to watch their channels. And I don't understand it because those aren't the people that are buying from you. Why are you throwing all that money out there because you just want your notoriety? Who cares? And that's what we were trained. I think the guy's name was Nathan when he did the YouTube stuff. Basically said it's just about getting up there. When someone searches, sales training or leadership, hopefully my name will be up closer to the top. They'll see some videos and you'll be like, wow, this guy, which, the videos when they're out there, now people are going, wow, this guy's doing all these videos. He's comfortable in front of a camera. He's going to be comfortable in front of all of my people. So maybe it works. I'm not really concerned about following up on that little thing or however it does. My son actually tracks all that stuff and he's like, hey, you got this many people watching these videos, and Dad, I liked your video to help your numbers. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. My kids are all about like the how to maximize the subscribers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That gets into a bad position. My son, who's a Fortnite guy, he's like, well, I want to be a streamer, right? And I go, why? What's it doing? Are you trying to help people? Well, no, I just want more people on my Fortnite channel or whatever. And I'm like, well, guess what? You're not going to be a streamer.
Well, they want to monetize. So they're the ones
Mhm.
teaching me about this option of monetizing right now. I do have one other question. And it's just something I've noticed, and I'm struggling on how to respond to it. So I've been doing a lot of connecting and networking
Mhm.
with different people. And sometimes it's just for networking, but I'm still kind of, entering into that. What are your challenges? What are you working on? But people also know that I'm just starting out. And and there's also this like huge helping each other and networking and connecting because of 2020. And so I keep bouncing into this question where people are going, well, how can I help you? and I'm getting stuck there because I'm like, well, I really, it's like I wanted to lead and then they're,
Yeah.
and then it's about my new business. And I'm like, well, you can help me understand your challenges so we can get to what your needs are, which is what's in my head, but I'm just stumbling on that. So any advice or thoughts on it?
So Chamber of Commerce, right? Everybody goes there. It's basically a networking. It's like speed dating is what I call it. Everybody's out there to try to make a deal or make a connection. And there's not really a lot of validity there. So I'm in a small business. Like University of Toledo does a fantastic job about having the Family Business Center, and they have these little groups, and they put people into the groups that are in similar businesses. So you kind of have like your board of directors. And I'm actually in one associated with my church. And so we sit down and it's just totally natural. It's just like, hey, let's talk about what's going on in your business. And we just throw out ideas of how you can, help people. And what's cool is it's actually it made some, one of my first actual trainings was with one of these people. Just formed naturally. I didn't approach them. They actually approached me. First, they asked to buy a few of the books. I said, well, I'll sell you the books. I'll save you the shipping and tax or whatever. Just give me a couple bucks. And I gave them the books. And then they said, you know what? We want you to come in and do a half-day training. Gladly do that. And it's just evolved over time. And we have great discussions. They help me with some ideas. And I always pick their brains. What did you have stumbling blocks on? And my wife sits there and tells me, it's like, well, you should do a podcast interviewing all these entrepreneurs, because I know a lot of them, and ask them the question, what did the first year to 5 years look like for you? Right. And that's what most of us really want, because we're all struggling, right? Facebook was like, here's all of my highlight reels for everybody. And whenever we see them on Facebook, we would compare them to our blooper reel, basically. And Chamber of Commerce and all that stuff, that it's kind of like all these people are like, oh, everything's great, and they don't take off that mask, right? So getting in a group of people, and they've pointed me in the direction of some other customers that I can help, and they're talking to people, and they're buying more books for other people to help them because they're interested. And whether it makes, to me, it's like whether it makes a deal or not, I don't care, but I value the relationship because they're helping me, I'm helping them. And it's totally transparent. So if you can find relationships, a board of directors kind of group of people, that's the first start. Mastermind groups, John Maxwell will teach you to have mastermind groups, do lunch and learns, and that's how they kind of do their business model of growing sales. But finding those relationships, that's the key part. Finding honest relationships, having those transparent talks. But Chamber of Commerce, Rotary clubs, I've thought about getting involved in those, but all I've ever heard was it's just basically handing out business cards to people and networking, which networking is good, right? You can do that, but don't go in there saying, I'm going to go make a sale, because now you sound desperate, like, Matthew McConaughey trying to go find, an agent. You just go in there to say, hey, I'm here to hang out. My friend invited me or something. And, ask people. It's funny. So I tell people back when I got back into church and all that stuff. I had the Bruce Almighty moment when I was 30. Got baptized at 31. I was standing on the side of I-4 screaming at God type deal. And after that happened, it was kind of like a switch. I stopped worrying what other people thought. Like, yeah, I've told people, like, listen, I started a business and I had a day job. I still have a day job. I'm doing this out of fun. It's like hobby stuff. I'm writing blogs and stuff. I still have a day job until I get that boat closer to the dock and I step off. And I'm getting closer. I'm really close to being able to take that step and move on, even in this kind of area where we're all remote. So yeah, I stopped worrying about what everybody thought. And I told them transparent, like, here's where I'm at. And I'm not desperate. I'm growing and moving forward. Take that one step. You know, the Navy SEALs have a thing called fail forward fast. I use a lot of Navy SEAL stuff because the guy was my mentor. And it's take one step, let's look around, maneuver, and advance. What can you do to keep advancing? Don't get worried. And, you know, I'm not probably going to be Tony Robbins tomorrow. 30 years? Maybe. If you go back and look at Tony Robbins when, God, probably 20 years ago, he was doing these little broadcasts of making people walk across burning coals in Hawaii. That was his big thing, get people out of their comfort zones. Now he's got his huge following, but he wasn't making that much money back then. So don't compare with people. I just sit there and go, hey, I just transparent and don't worry about what other people think. I don't want to take too much of your guys' time. I know it's been about an hour and a half. I know people want to go to sleep. I've been up since about 5. So, but this actually, I have more energy. My wife's going to come home and be like, so you ready to go to bed? And I'm like, no, I'm ready to go run.
That's how you get to the Ironman, Kevin. That's how you get to the Ironman.
I can't do those marathons. My sprint triathlon was actually a God experience because I thought I was going to drown at that point doing a 1/4 mile swim.
Swimming with other people is a very uncomfortable experience.
Yes.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much. Again, it's Kevin at kevinsidebottom.com. I popped that email in the chat. Send him your key takeaways so you can grab that sales sheet. I already sent him mine. And if you have any other questions, you know how to reach Kevin. Otherwise, we will shoot out the recording. Kevin, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome.
Yeah, hopefully it helps you guys. That's what I'm here for.
And I love the sales is service. You know, as soon as I shift that thinking, I'm like, okay, how can I serve this person? And maybe it's not with what I've got. Maybe it's introducing them to Stacy or Kevin or whatever, because I don't do, you know. So yeah, I love it.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, guys.
Everybody.
We'll see you guys.
Have a great night.
All right. We'll see you.
How are you, Lisa? Is your mom still with you or has she gone home? Oh, unmute yourself. Oh, hold on, unmute.
Oh, stop the recording.
Oh. Okay, that, yeah.